My mother-in-law handed me the cleaning supplies like she was bestowing a gift. The upstairs bathrooms need scrubbing, Rachel. And the guest room. Daniel's brother is coming this weekend. We need everything perfect. I took the bucket, the bleach, the scrubbing brushes. I'd taken them 100 times before. But this time, something was different. This time, the small recording device in my apron pocket was capturing every word, every dismissive command, every casual insult, every moment they treated me like hired help instead of family. 300 hours of audio, 18 months of documentation. And in exactly 4 days, I was going to play it all back for them. At their 50th wedding anniversary party, in front of 200 guests, while I handed my husband the divorce papers he didn't see coming. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand how I went from being a daughter-in-law to being a live-in servant, and how the Harrington family had absolutely no idea that the quiet woman scrubbing their toilets was building the most devastating exit strategy of her life. My name is Rachel Chin. I'm 34 years old. And until 6 months ago, I lived in the Harrington family estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. Not as a guest. Not as an equal. As free labor. I met Daniel Harrington when I was 26. He was 32. Charming. Handsome. From a family with old Connecticut money. The Harringtons owned a pharmaceutical distribution company. Nothing flashy. Just steady, generational wealth that paid for prep schools and country clubs and the kind of life where nobody ever discussed money because there was always enough. Daniel worked in the family business. Executive VP of Operations. A title that sounded impressive, but mostly meant he went to the office 4 days a week and golfed the fifth. We met at a charity gala. I was working as an event coordinator for the nonprofit hosting it. He approached me during cocktail hour. "You look like the only person here actually working," he said with a smile. "Someone has to make sure everything runs smoothly." He asked for my number. I gave it to him. 6 months later, we were engaged. I should have seen the warning signs. Looking back, they were everywhere. But I was 26. I'd grown up in a working-class family in Queens. My father was a mechanic. My mother was a teacher's aide. The Harringtons represented everything I'd been taught to aspire to: stability, security, success. So I ignored the small things. Like the way Daniel's mother, Vivian, inspected my engagement ring and said, "Well, it's smaller than I expected, but I suppose Daniel wanted to be practical." Or the way his father, Robert, asked what my parents did for a living, then changed the subject when I told him. Or the way Daniel's brother, Christopher, introduced me to his friends as Daniel's fiancée. "She's an event planner or something." Small things. Easy to dismiss. Easy to tell myself I was being too sensitive. The wedding was at the Harrington estate. A sprawling colonial with 8 bedrooms, formal gardens, and enough land that you couldn't see the neighbors. Vivian planned everything. I was consulted on exactly nothing. The dress was her choice. Vera Wang, because anything else would be tacky. The flowers were her choice. White roses and peonies, because color is too bold for a first wedding. The guest list was 90% Harrington family and friends. My parents invited 12 people. They sat at a table near the kitchen. I didn't realize until years later that the seating chart had been a preview of my future. Me, near the kitchen. Always near the kitchen. We moved into the estate after the wedding. Temporarily, Daniel said. Just until we find our own place. The estate had plenty of room. Daniel's parents lived in the main wing. There was a separate guest house that had been converted into an apartment. That's where we lived. 2 bedrooms. Small kitchen. Separate entrance. "It's perfect for now," Daniel assured me. "And Mom loves having family close." I should have insisted on our own place. But Daniel said it made financial sense. We'd save money. Build a down payment faster. And I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted his family to like me. So I agreed. Temporarily. That was 8 years ago. The first year was fine. We had our own space. Our own life. Vivian would invite us to Sunday dinners. We'd decline occasionally. No pressure. But then Daniel's grandmother passed away. And suddenly, Vivian needed help. "Rachel," she said one afternoon, appearing at our door with red-rimmed eyes. I'm just so overwhelmed. The estate is too much for me to manage alone. Could you possibly help me organize the linens? Of course. I spent 3 hours that day folding sheets and organizing the linen closet. Vivian was so grateful. You're such a blessing, Rachel. Family helps family. It started small. Can you help me prepare for the dinner party? Just a few hours. Can you run to the store? I have a headache and Robert needs his medication. Can you help me with the holiday decorating? The staff used to do it, but we let them go to save money. That last one should have been a clue. The Harrington estate had always employed a housekeeper, a gardener, and a part-time cook. But over the course of 2 years, Vivian let them all go. Budget cuts, she explained. We're tightening our belts. Except the country club membership didn't get cut. The annual European vacation didn't get cut. Robert's new Mercedes didn't get cut. What got cut was the paid staff. Because they had me. Free. By year 3, I had a routine. Wake up at 6. Make coffee for the main house. 7. Start laundry. The Harringtons went through linens like a hotel. 8. Prepare breakfast. Robert liked eggs and toast. Vivian wanted yogurt and granola, specific brands, arranged in a specific bowl. 9. Clean the main house. Vacuuming, dusting, bathrooms. Noon. Grocery shopping or errands. 2. Meal prep for dinner. 5. Serve dinner in the formal dining room. 7. Clean up. 8. Collapse in the guest house. Daniel didn't notice. He was at the office or the golf course or having drinks with Christopher. When I mentioned I was tired, he'd kiss my forehead and say, "Mom really appreciates your help. You're amazing." I wasn't amazing. I was drowning. Before we continue, please subscribe to Family Secret TV and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I see everything and your support means the world to me. Thank you. The breaking point should have come 100 times. But the one that finally cracked something inside me happened on a Tuesday. I'd been up since 5:30 cleaning because the Harringtons were hosting a luncheon for Vivian's garden club. 12 women. All in their 60s. All dripping with pearls and judgment. I'd prepared cucumber sandwiches, scones, 3 types of tea. I'd arranged fresh flowers in every room. I'd ironed the tablecloths and polished the silver. And when the guests arrived, I served. In a black dress and white apron. Like stuff. One of the women, a friend of Vivian's named Margaret, stopped me as I was refilling her teacup. "You're so lucky, dear," she said, smiling. "To live here. To be part of such a wonderful family." "I'm Daniel's wife," I said quietly. Her smile faltered. Oh, I thought you were, I see." She turned back to Vivian, who smoothly changed the subject. Nobody corrected her assumption. Not Vivian. Not the other women. Not even Daniel, who'd stopped by during lunch to grab something from his father's office. He walked right past me carrying a tray and didn't say a word. That night, I confronted him. "Your mother's friend thought I was the help." Daniel was scrolling through his phone, barely listening. "What?" "Margaret. She thought I was hired staff." He looked up, frowning. "Did you tell her you're my wife?" "Yes." But nobody corrected her, Daniel. "Not your mother. Not you." I didn't hear her say it. "You walked right past me." I was carrying a tray and a uniform. "It's not a uniform. It's just a dress." I stared at him. "Do you even see what's happening?" "Rachel, you're being dramatic. Mom's friends are old. They get confused." "I'm not dramatic. I'm tired. I've been working for your family for free for 5 years. Working?" He set down his phone. "Rachel, you're helping. That's what family does." "Family?" I felt something crack. When was the last time your mother helped me? When was the last time anyone in this house treated me like family instead of staff? That's not fair. What's not fair is that I gave up my career to be your parents' housekeeper. Nobody asked you to quit your job. That was true. Technically. But event planning required evening and weekend work. And I couldn't commit to events when Vivian needed me for dinner parties, or holiday prep, or unexpected guests. My boss had been understanding at first. Then less understanding. Then I'd been let go. Vivian had been sympathetic. "It's probably for the best, dear. You were working such long hours. Now you can focus on family. I stopped arguing with Daniel that night because I realized something. He didn't see me as his wife. He saw me as an extension of his mother's household. Convenient, useful, replaceable. And arguing wouldn't change that. So I started planning. The recording device was my sister's idea. Lauren was younger than me by 4 years. She'd always been the rebellious one. She visited one weekend and found me scrubbing floors in the main house while Daniel played golf. What the hell, Rachel? Vivian needed help before her book club meeting. You're not the maid. I know. Then why are you on your hands and knees scrubbing someone else's floor? I didn't have an answer. Lauren pulled me into the guest house and sat me down. You need to leave. I can't just leave. Yes, you can. You're not a prisoner. Daniel what? Doesn't notice you're miserable? Doesn't care that his parents treat you like stuff? She pulled out her phone. I'm ordering you something. What? Just trust me. 3 days later, a package arrived. Inside was a small digital voice recorder, the kind journalists use. And a note from Lauren, document everything. You're going to need proof. I started recording the next day. The device was tiny. Fit in my apron pocket. In my purse. In my pocket when I wore jeans. I recorded every interaction with Vivian. Every command. Every dismissive comment. Every moment she treated me like help instead of family. Rachel, the silver needs polishing. The Harrisons are coming for dinner. Rachel, did you remember to pick up Robert's dry cleaning? He has that gala tomorrow. Rachel, honestly, the way you folded these napkins is just sloppy. Let me show you again. I recorded Robert, too. Where's Rachel? I need my coffee. Rachel, bring me the newspaper. No, not that one. The financial section. Your wife is useful, Daniel. You married well. I recorded Christopher during his visits. Rachel, can you make those little pastry things you made last time? My girlfriend loved them. You're like the housekeeper but free. That's smart, Daniel. I recorded Daniel. Can you handle dinner tonight? I'm going out with Chris. Mom mentioned you forgot to water her orchids. She's upset. Rachel, can you not make this difficult? Just help her. It's not that hard. 300 hours. 18 months. Every casual cruelty. Every dismissive comment. Every moment they forgot I was a person. All of it documented. I also started documenting something else. My labor. I created a spreadsheet. Every task. Every hour. Every service I provided. Housekeeping. 30 hours per week at $25 per hour market rate. Cooking. 15 hours per week at $30 per hour for private chef services. Errands and personal assistant tasks. 10 hours per week at $20 per hour. Event coordination. 5 hours per week at $50 per hour. Total weekly value, $2,525. Total monthly value, $10,100. Over 8 years, $969,600. Almost $1 million in unpaid labor. I had given the Harringtons nearly $1 million of my time. And they'd given me nothing but a room in their guest house and the assumption that I should be grateful. I also started something else. I went back to work. Quietly. I reached out to old contacts in event planning. Started taking small freelance gigs. Corporate events. Small weddings. Nothing that required me to be gone overnight. Vivian didn't notice. She thought I was running errands. Daniel didn't notice. He was never home anyway. In 6 months, I'd saved $11,000. Enough for first and last month's rent. Security deposit. Moving costs. Enough to leave. But I wasn't just leaving. I was making a statement. And the perfect opportunity was coming. Robert and Vivian's 50th wedding anniversary. A massive party. 200 guests. Catered dinner. Live band. The social event of the season for the Greenwich set. And of course, I was coordinating everything. For free. Vivian had asked me 8 months ago. Rachel, you're so good at this. Would you mind organizing our anniversary party? Professional planners are so expensive, and you have such a gift. I'd smiled. Of course, Vivian. I'd be honored. She'd hugged me. You're such a blessing. I spent 8 months planning the perfect party. And the perfect ending. The anniversary party was scheduled for Saturday, June 14th. Tents in the garden. String lights. A champagne fountain. A 7-piece band. Guest list, 200 of Connecticut's finest. Menu, past hors d'oeuvres, seated dinner, dessert bar. Total cost, $85,000. Paid for by Robert and Vivian, of course. Coordinated entirely by me. For free. For days before the party, I met with a divorce attorney. Her name was Catherine Osei, 48 years old. 20 years of family law experience. She reviewed my documentation. The recordings. The spreadsheets. The evidence of unpaid labor. When she looked up, she was smiling. "Mrs. Harrington, this is extraordinary. Is it enough?" "It's more than enough." She leaned forward. "Connecticut is an equitable distribution state. You're entitled to half of all marital assets acquired during the marriage." I knew that part. "But there's more," Catherine continued. "You can also claim unjust enrichment. You provided nearly $1 million in unpaid household labor that directly benefited your in-laws. Can I sue them?" "You can. Though I'd recommend using it as leverage in the divorce settlement. Daniel will want to avoid a public lawsuit against his parents." I nodded slowly. "What about the recordings?" "Connecticut is a one-party consent state. As long as you're present in the conversation, you can legally record it. These are admissible." Catherine pulled out a contract. "I can have divorce papers ready by Friday. You can serve them however you'd like." I looked at her. "Can I serve them at a party?" She raised an eyebrow. "Technically, yes. Though it's unusual. I want to serve them at his parents' anniversary party. In front of all their guests." Catherine was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "That's not usual. But it's legal. And honestly, after listening to these recordings, I think it's deserved." The party day arrived. I'd been awake since 4 in the morning. Coordinating vendors. Setting up tables. Arranging flowers. Overseeing the caterers. By 4 in the afternoon, the estate looked perfect. White tents glowing in the garden. Tables set with crystal and china. The band warming up on the terrace. 200 guests would arrive at 6. At 5, I went back to the guest house. Showered. Changed. Put on a red dress. Not black. Not invisible. Red. I wanted to be seen. I put the recordings on a USB drive. Tucked it in my purse along with the divorce papers Catherine had prepared. And I walked back to the main house. The party was perfect. Guests arrived in designer dresses and summer suits. Champagne flowed. The band played. Vivian and Robert held court, accepting congratulations and toasts. I circulated. Not as staff. As a guest. Several people asked who I was. "I'm Daniel's wife," I said each time. Most of them looked surprised. "Oh, I didn't realize Daniel was married." 8 years, I said with a smile. At 7:30, dinner was served. At 8, the toasts began. Christopher stood up first, champagne in hand. "To my parents. 50 years of marriage. An inspiration to us all." Applause. Daniel went next. "To the best parents anyone could ask for. Thank you for everything you've taught me about family, commitment, and love." More applause. Then Vivian stood. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Robert and I are so blessed. Blessed with family, with friends, and with a wonderful life." She looked around the tent. "And I especially want to thank our daughter-in-law, Rachel, who coordinated this beautiful event." "Rachel, dear, could you stand?" 200 faces turned toward me. I stood. Vivian smiled. "Rachel has been such a help over the years. We're so grateful." Applause. Polite. Brief. I walked to the front of the tent. Vivian looked confused. "Rachel? I have something I'd like to share," I said clearly. The tent went quiet. I pulled out the USB drive. The A/V technician, someone I'd hired weeks ago and briefed privately, plugged it into the sound system. Vivian's voice filled the tent. "Rachel, the upstairs bathrooms need scrubbing." Then Robert's voice. "Where's Rachel?" "I need my coffee." Then Christopher's. "You're like the housekeeper but free." Then Daniel's. "Just help her. It's not that hard." The recordings played for 3 minutes. A highlight reel of 18 months of casual cruelty. Commands. dismissals. Moments where I was treated as staff instead of family. Vivian's face went white. Robert stood up, furious. Turn that off. The technician looked at me. I nodded. The recording stopped. The tent was silent. 200 guests stared at me. I pulled the divorce papers from my purse. Daniel, I said calmly. I'm divorcing you. I handed him the envelope. He took it automatically, too shocked to speak. I turned to face the crowd. For 8 years, I've lived in this house as unpaid labor. I've cleaned, cooked, organized, and served. I've been treated as staff by my in-laws and ignored by my husband. Vivian opened her mouth. I kept talking. I've documented everything. 300 hours of recordings. 8 years of unpaid work valued at nearly $1 million. Gasps rippled through the tent. And tonight, I'm done. I looked at Vivian. Thank you for the opportunity to coordinate your anniversary party. Consider it my last act of service. I looked at Robert. Your coffee is in the kitchen. You can get it yourself. I looked at Daniel. You'll be hearing from my attorney. Then I walked out. Through the tent. Through the garden. Through the gates of the estate. I didn't look back. Behind me, I heard chaos. Vivian's voice, shrill and defensive. Robert shouting. Daniel calling my name. I kept walking. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you something. If you'd been in my position, would you have left quietly or would you have made them face the truth publicly? Tell me in the comments. And if this story resonates with you, hit that like button. Now let me tell you what happened next. I drove straight to my sister's apartment in Brooklyn. Lauren opened the door, took one look at me and grinned. You did it. I did it. She pulled me inside. Tell me everything. The fallout was immediate. By Sunday morning, half of Greenwich had heard about it. The recordings. The divorce. The public confrontation at the anniversary party. My phone exploded with messages. Daniel called 47 times. I didn't answer. Vivian left voicemails. Angry at first, then pleading. Rachel, how could you embarrass us like this? Rachel, we treated you like family. Rachel, you're being unreasonable. I deleted them all. Christopher sent a single text, you're a psycho. I blocked him. Robert sent nothing. But his lawyer did. A letter threatening a defamation lawsuit if I released the recordings publicly. Catherine responded within 24 hours. Her letter was short and devastating. Mrs. Harrington's recordings were made legally in a one-party consent state. Any attempt to sue will result in counter-litigation for unjust enrichment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and wage theft. We suggest you focus on the divorce settlement instead. The defamation threat disappeared. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. Daniel tried to fight. He claimed I'd abandoned the marriage without cause. Catherine played a 10-minute audio compilation in the settlement conference. After listening to 18 months of his family treating me as staff and him doing nothing about it, the mediator turned to Daniel's lawyer. I suggest you advise your client to settle. Daniel got the message. Final settlement. I received $240,000. Half of the equity in several investments Daniel had made during our marriage. I received my car, my personal belongings, and a written acknowledgement that I owed the Harringtons nothing. Daniel kept the guest house, which I'd never wanted anyway. The Harringtons wanted a non-disclosure agreement. Catherine advised against it. You have every right to tell your story, she said. But I signed it anyway. Not because they deserved my silence. Because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life talking about them. I wanted to move forward, not back. 6 months after the divorce, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment in Stamford. Small. Affordable. Mine. I'd restarted my event planning business. Officially this time. Chin Events. LLC. My first client was a corporate gala for a tech company in Norwalk. They paid me $12,000 for 3 weeks of work. It was more than I'd ever been paid in 8 years of marriage. My second client was a wedding. Then another corporate event. Then a nonprofit fundraiser. Word spread. Rachel Chin knows how to run a flawless event. Within a year, I was booked solid. Revenue, $180,000 annually. Not wealthy, but stable. Comfortable. Mine. I ran into Vivian once. About 8 months after the divorce. I was at a coffee shop in Greenwich, meeting with a potential client. She walked in with Margaret, her garden club friend. Our eyes met across the room. For a moment, I thought she might approach. Apologize. Explain. Something. Instead, she turned and walked out. Margaret followed, glancing back at me with something like pity. Not for me. For Vivian. Daniel remarried 2 years later. I heard about it through mutual acquaintances. Her name was Caroline. 26. Blonde. From a good family. They lived in the guest house. On the Harrington estate. I wondered how long it would take before Caroline was scrubbing bathrooms. I gave it 18 months. Last month, I got a message on LinkedIn. From a woman named Jessica. She'd heard my story through the Greenwich social circuit. The parts that had leaked despite the NDA. She was living with her in-laws. Doing all their housework. Feeling invisible. She wanted advice. I met her for coffee. We talked for 3 hours. At the end, she asked the question I'd been waiting for. How did you know it was time to leave? I thought about it. When I finally realized that their comfort mattered more to them than my dignity. When I understood that I wasn't part of the family. I was part of the furniture. She nodded slowly. What did you do first? I smiled. I started documenting everything. Today, I'm sitting in my office. Chin Events has grown. I have 2 part-time assistants now. We're booking events 6 months in advance. Last week, I turned down a job. A 50th wedding anniversary party for a wealthy family in Greenwich. The budget was substantial. The commission would have been significant. But the woman who called me was Vivian Harrington's friend. And I don't work for people who see me as help instead of as a professional. So I said no. It felt amazing. My sister asked me recently if I regretted the way I left. The public confrontation. The recordings. The scene at the anniversary party. I thought about it. No, I said finally. They'd been publicly dismissing me for years. They just didn't realize it because I was quiet. You're not quiet anymore. I smiled. No, I'm not. Here's what I've learned. Invisibility isn't something that happens to you. It's something people choose to do to you. And the moment you refuse to be invisible, everything changes. Some people will call you dramatic. They'll say you should have been more understanding, more patient, more willing to compromise. Those people have never scrubbed someone else's bathroom while being introduced as the help. Those people have never given years of their life to people who saw them as furniture. Those people don't get to judge. The recordings are still stored on a hard drive in my apartment. I'll never release them publicly. The NDA prevents that. But I keep them as a reminder. Of what I survived. Of what I'll never accept again. Of the moment I finally chose myself. If you're in a situation like mine, if you're giving everything to people who give you nothing back, I want you to know something. You're not dramatic for wanting to be seen. You're not selfish for wanting to be valued. You're not wrong for wanting to be treated like a person instead of like stuff. And you don't need permission to leave. Not from them. Not from anyone. You just need to decide you're worth more than they're offering. Because you are. We all are. Last week, I got a call from a woman who'd been at the anniversary party. She'd witnessed the whole thing. The recordings. The divorce papers. My exit. She wanted to hire me. Not for an event. To teach her daughter what she should have taught her years ago. That being a good wife doesn't mean being a servant. That family doesn't mean free labor. That love shouldn't cost you your dignity. I met with them both. Mother and daughter. 22 years old and about to get engaged. We talked for hours. At the end, the young woman asked me, "How do you know if someone really loves you?" I smiled. Love doesn't ask you to disappear. It doesn't ask you to serve. It doesn't ask you to earn your place at the table. Real love makes room for you. Exactly as you are. Thank you so much for watching. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever been made to feel invisible by people who should have seen you, I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping yourself? Tell me your story. And if you want more stories like this, stories about people who finally chose themselves, hit that subscribe button. More coming soon. Until next time, remember, the people who treat you as invisible are only proving they were never worth your presence in the first place. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply leave.